Did you know that the jolly man we often imagine, with a beard as white as fishing line and a sleigh built for the snow, was never actually born in the land of eternal ice? Or that the vibrant red color of his suit was not a random accident of history, nor was it entirely created by a famous soda company, as the rumors suggest? And have you ever wondered, as you stare at the decorations, why we hang stockings by the fireplace instead of hanging hats or leaving shoes by the window? Hello, and welcome back to Somnus Sleepy Science. Tonight, in this quiet space, we will not analyze and we will not memorize. We are going to peel back the layers of dust that time has settled upon the world's most familiar holiday, to find peace in scientific facts and history that have long been forgotten. Let these stories of Christmas become a gentle lullaby for your tired mind. Right now, find your most comfortable position. Pull the blanket up a little higher, feeling the softness of the fabric settling against your skin. Take a deep breath in and let it out very slowly. Let your eyes close and let us drift backward into the past. Our story begins not at the freezing North Pole, where the wind howls and the ice is thick, but under the warm sun of the Mediterranean. Imagine you are standing in Patara, a land in what is now modern-day Turkey, around the 4th century AD. The air here is thick with the scent of sea salt and ripening olives. Our main character, the man the world would later call Santa Claus, was actually a monk named Nicholas. He did not have a round belly, nor did he wear a warm suit of red velvet. Historical records describe Saint Nicholas as a thin, austere man wearing simple monk's robes, his skin weathered and tanned by the harsh sun of Asia Minor. The first scientific fact of this legend lies in quiet generosity. It is said that the origin of hanging stockings by the fireplace comes from a secret act Nicholas performed in the night, when he heard of a poor father who did not have enough money for his 3 daughters' dowries. Nicholas did not knock on the door during the day to present a gift. He chose the cover of darkness. He chose the absolute stillness when the entire town had fallen asleep. He gently dropped small bags of gold down the chimney. Those gold coins fell, tumbling down the soot, and clinked softly, clink, clink, before landing safely inside the stockings that had been hung by the dying embers to dry. Imagine that sound for a moment. The sound of metal touching wool. A tiny sound, but one that held infinite reassurance. That is why today we still hang stockings, unconsciously waiting for a silent miracle while we sleep. Time flows like a lazy river, carrying the image of that thin monk across Europe. In the Netherlands, he was called Sint. Can you hear the similarity in the sound? Santa Claus. When Dutch settlers brought this legend to the New World, to the land that is now New York, the name was Americanized. It became softer, rounder on the tongue, eventually becoming the Santa Claus we know. But the change was not just in the name. His form also shifted, shaped by human imagination over the centuries, just as clouds change shape in a windy sky. Before we delve deeper into his wardrobe, if you are feeling your eyelids beginning to grow heavy and your body sinking deeper into the soft mattress, I am so glad to be here with you. Just let your mind drift. If you enjoy this peaceful space, gently subscribe to the channel, and perhaps whisper to me in the comments where you are listening from. Perhaps from a warm bed or a soft sofa, but there is no rush. Just take your time. Now, let's speak of the color red. One of the most common misunderstandings in the modern world is that Coca-Cola invented Santa's red suit to advertise their brand in the 1930s. The truth is far more complex and interesting. Before the 1930s, Santa Claus had been depicted in a rainbow of colors. He once wore green, symbolizing the fertility of nature and the evergreen forests. He once wore the brown of animal fur, or even the pale blue of frost. But the man who truly defined the red was an illustrator named Thomas Nast, working during the American Civil War era, long before soft drink campaigns existed. Nast began to draw Santa in his detailed black and white sketches for Harper's Weekly and later in colored prints. He began to dress Santa in a red coat. Why red? In terms of color, psychology, and optics, red has the longest wavelength in the visible light spectrum. It is the first color that the human eye is drawn to. But more importantly, in the context of a cold, gray, and white winter, red represents warmth. It represents fire. It represents life burning quietly within. The artist Haddon Sundblom, who worked for Coca-Cola later, simply standardized that image, making Santa look jollier, his cheeks rosier, cementing the red suit as an unchangeable icon. Imagine the warmth of that red velvet coat. It is not just fabric. It is a portable fireplace in the middle of a frozen winter. But Christmas is not just the story of one man. If we travel back even further in time, past the era of St. Nicholas, we touch the ancient roots of this holiday deep within the Roman Empire. Did you know that December 25th is not actually the date of Jesus' birth, according to precise historical records? The Bible mentions no specific date, and clues about shepherds tending their flocks in the fields suggest it might have been spring. So why did we choose the middle of winter? The answer lies in astronomy and the human craving for light. Late December marks the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, the shortest day and the longest night of the year. For the ancient Romans, this was the time of Saturnalia, a festival honoring Saturn, the god of agriculture and time. During the week of Saturnalia, all social order was overturned. Courts did not sit, schools were closed, and war was suspended. It was a time of pausing. A blanket of stillness covered the usual rules of life. The Romans decorated their homes with green branches, symbols of eternal life even when the snow fell. They lit beeswax candles, called cerei. Imagine the soft, yellow light of thousands of beeswax candles, releasing a sweet scent. Flickering through the cobblestone streets of ancient Rome, that light was not harsh like the neon lights of today. It flickered, it danced, creating gentle shadows on the walls. People exchanged small gifts, often candles, clay figurines, or fruit. As Christianity spread, rather than erasing these customs, it absorbed them. It placed the celebration of Christmas right at this moment to ease the transition of faith, turning the day of Sol Invictus, the day of the unconquered sun, into a day celebrating the birth of a new light. So, when you see lights twinkling on a Christmas tree, you are reenacting a ritual that has existed for thousands of years. A ritual of lighting a fire to warm the longest night of the year, waiting for the sun to return. And that waiting is, in itself, a form of meditation. Think about the feeling of waiting for something good. Your heart rate slows down a little. Your breathing becomes deeper. Winter, with all its cold, is actually a giant cocoon for nature to rest. The trees pull their sap deep into their roots. The bears sleep in their caves. And humans, by biological instinct, also want to return to warmth, to curl up and to sleep more. In this ancient atmosphere, where the line between myth and history blurs, we find a simple truth. Christmas was designed for us to stop amidst the busy current, to stop and feel the warmth, to stop and listen to the quiet of winter. Do you feel the space around you becoming quieter? As if invisible snowflakes are falling outside your window, absorbing the noise of the city. Every fact, every small story is a brick in a wall that separates you from the worries of the day. You are safe in this flow of gentle knowledge. And as we speak of safety and warmth, we cannot forget Santa's companions. Creatures capable of flight in our imagination, but who carry within them extraordinary biological traits in real life. Did you know that a reindeer's eyes are not simply brown? They actually change color with the seasons to adapt to the perpetual darkness of the North Pole, a superpower that very few animals possess. But that is a story we will explore deeper in the next part, as we step into the magical biological world of the sleigh team. Now, relax your shoulders a little more. Feel the weight of your body being fully supported. Everything is okay. We will continue this journey slowly and peacefully. Let us move closer now. Let us step away from the warm hearth of history and walk out into the imaginary snow, towards the stables where the sleigh is waiting. In our minds, we often picture reindeer as simple beasts of burden, like horses with antlers, standing stoically in the cold. But biology tells us a story that is far more magical than any fairy tale. The reindeer, or Reindeer tarandus, is a creature designed by nature to master the art of survival in the dark. Imagine looking into the eyes of a reindeer in the middle of July, under the midnight sun of the Arctic. You would see eyes that shine with a golden yellow hue, reflecting the constant bright sunlight of the summer. But if you were to look into those same eyes right now in the depths of December, you would see a transformation that seems almost impossible. As the winter settles in and the sun dips below the horizon for months at a time, the pressure inside a reindeer's eye actually changes. It increases, compressing the collagen fibers in a layer behind the retina called the tapetum lucidum. This compression changes the way light reflects off the back of their eyes. The gold fades away, replaced by a deep, mesmerizing blue. Think of that color, a deep, oceanic blue. This biological shift allows them to scatter light more effectively, helping them see predators in the faint, purple twilight of the Arctic winter. So, when we say Santa's reindeer, guide him through the night, it is not just poetic license. Their eyes literally tune themselves to the frequency of the darkness. They carry the deep blue of the winter night within them. While you visualize those deep blue eyes watching over the silent snow, listen closely. Can you hear a sound? Not the bells on the harness, but something more organic. Click, click, click. It is a rhythmic, snapping sound, like a dry twig breaking under a heavy blanket, or perhaps like the ticking of a very old wooden clock. This is the sound of reindeer walking. It comes from their knees. Inside their legs, a tendon slips over a bone every time they take a step, creating a distinct clicking noise. In the vast white silence of a blizzard, where the wind erases all visibility and the world turns into a swirling void of white, visual contact is lost. A mother reindeer cannot see her calf, even if it is only a few feet away, but she can hear it. Click, click, click. The herd stays together not by sight, but by this built-in percussion. It is a biological metronome, keeping the family connected in the storm. Let that rhythm settle into your mind. A steady, comforting click. It is the sound of safety. It is the sound of knowing that even when you cannot see the way forward, you are not alone. There is a rhythm to follow. And speaking of the herd, there is a secret about the team pulling the sleigh that most people overlook. We know their names: Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. In almost every drawing, every movie, and every sculpture, they are depicted with magnificent, branching antlers, reaching up to the sky like crowns of bone. But here is the sleepy fact of biology. Male reindeer shed their antlers in the late autumn, usually right after the mating season ends in November. They drop them to the ground to conserve energy for the harsh winter ahead. Female reindeer, however, are different. They keep their antlers all the way through winter and into the spring. Why? To protect their food sources in the snow, to ensure they have enough nutrition to nurture the new life growing inside them. So, if you see a reindeer with antlers on December 24th, science tells us there is a very high probability that it is a female. Santa's team, the strong creatures pulling that heavy sleigh across the night sky, are likely a team of powerful mothers and sisters. It is a comforting thought, isn't it? The protective, nurturing energy of the female leading the way through the cold night. If you are just joining us on this drift into the world of slumber, or if you are shifting your position to get a little more comfortable, know that you are in a safe place. Just let the tension in your jaw release. Unclench your hands. If you are enjoying these quiet stories, you might want to gently tap the subscribe button, or leave a whispered comment about how the weather is outside your window tonight, but only if it doesn't disturb your peace. Now, imagine reaching out and touching the coat of one of these creatures. It feels impossibly thick. A reindeer has 2 layers of fur. The undercoat is woolly and dense, trapping heat against the skin. But the outer layer, that is where the physics of sleep comes in. The guard hairs of a reindeer are hollow. Yes, hollow, like millions of tiny straws. These hollow tubes trap pockets of air inside them, and as we know, air is an excellent insulator. It is the same principle as the double-paned windows in your house or the down duvet you might be lying under right now. This design is so efficient that if a reindeer lies down in the snow beneath it does not melt. The heat stays entirely inside the animal. Imagine being that warm. Imagine wearing a coat made of air, so perfectly designed that the cold world outside cannot steal a single degree of your warmth. You are sealed in a bubble of comfort. And what about the most famous reindeer of all? The one with the red nose. While the story of Rudolph is a modern invention, the biology behind a red nose is surprisingly accurate. Scientists have used thermal cameras to look at reindeer, and they found that the nose is indeed the hottest part of their face, glowing brightly on the thermal spectrum. The inside of a reindeer's nose is like a complex seashell, full of scrolling bones called turbinates. These bones increase the surface area, allowing the nose to warm up the freezing Arctic air before it reaches the sensitive lungs. To do this, the nose is packed with blood vessels. So, a red nose is actually a sign of a high-performance heating system, working tirelessly to keep the breath warm and steady. Warm breath, in and out. Can you see the steam rising from their noses in the moonlight? The herd is moving slowly now. They are gliding over the snow, their hollow hair keeping them buoyant, their eyes shifting to deep blue to watch over the night, their knees clicking a lullaby of togetherness. The sleigh glides effortlessly because it is moving over snow. But what is snow, really? Why does the world seem to hush when the white flakes begin to fall? We are leaving the biological world now and drifting into the realm of physics. But not the physics of equations and chalkboards. This is the physics of silence. As the reindeer fade into the distance, leaving only the soft tracks behind, we find ourselves standing alone in a vast open field. The snow is falling. Have you ever noticed how quiet it is after a heavy snowfall? It isn't just because the cars have stopped driving or the people have gone inside. It is acoustic engineering on a planetary scale. Freshly fallen snow is porous. It is not a solid block of ice. It is a lattice of ice crystals with vast amounts of empty space between them. When a sound wave, perhaps the honk of a distant car, or the bark of a dog, hits the surface of the snow, it doesn't bounce back like it would off a concrete pavement. It gets trapped. It enters the maze of ice crystals and gets absorbed. The snow literally swallows the noise. It acts like the acoustic foam you see on the walls of a recording studio. A blanket of snow can absorb up to 60% of the sound frequency. So when you walk through a snowy landscape, you are walking through a dampened room. The world isn't just ignoring you. The world has actively turned down the volume. Let's focus on a single snowflake falling towards your hand. Gravity pulls it down, but air resistance pushes it up. Because of its complex shape and light weight, a snowflake has a very low terminal velocity. A raindrop might fall at 20 miles per hour, hitting the ground with a splash, but a snowflake, it drifts at barely 1 to 4 miles per hour. It takes its time. It is in no rush to reach the ground. It dances, it sways. If you were to catch one on your glove and look at it under a microscope, you would see the result of water molecules arranging themselves in the most energy-efficient way possible, a hexagon. 6 sides. This is because of the hydrogen bonds between water molecules. They want to hold hands in a 6-sided ring. But here is the fact that brings peace to the perfectionist mind. No 2 snowflakes are alike. Not because of magic, but because of the journey. As a snowflake falls through the clouds, it experiences slightly different temperatures and humidity levels at every second. One side of the flake might experience a microgust of wind that the other side does not. These tiny, chaotic changes in the environment sculpt the crystal as it grows. The snowflake is a map of its own history. It is a physical record of the quiet journey it took from the cloud to the earth. Imagine millions of these tiny histories falling around you. They are piling up, one on top of the other, creating a blanket of silence, soft, white, heavy in a way that feels grounding. The world is covered in a duvet of ice crystals. The sharp edges of the landscape, the curbs, the fences, the roofs, are all softened. Everything becomes round and gentle. You are part of this landscape now. You are not separate from it. You are just another quiet observer in the acoustic silence of the winter. And as you stand there, or lie there, feeling the imaginary cold on your cheeks and the real warmth of your bed, you might look up. Above the snow, above the clouds, there is the vastness of space. Christmas has a strange connection to the cosmos. We look for stars. We look for lights in the sky, and sometimes the sky looks back. There are visitors from the universe that have been mistaken for miracles. And there are human voices that have traveled further than any sleigh to sing a Christmas song. But to hear that song, and to understand the cosmic dance of the planets that might have guided 3 wise men across the desert, we must travel higher. We must leave the snowy field and float up, past the clouds, into the velvet blackness of space. Are you ready to float? The gravity is letting go of you. Your body feels lighter. The bed is a cloud. The room is a galaxy. We are drifting towards the stars now. We are floating. Do you feel your body becoming lighter? Imagine that we have just left the snow-covered ground of our previous story. We are rising, higher than the pine trees, higher than the heavy, moisture-laden clouds, passing through the atmosphere to enter the eternal velvet black of space. Up here, there is no whistling wind, no sleigh bells, only absolute silence. A silence that is vast and forgiving. Welcome back to the journey with Somnus Sleepy Science. In this soothing darkness, where stars are merely diamond dust scattered across a dark curtain, we will explore the strange connection between Christmas and the cosmos. Because before it was a holiday of candles and trees, Christmas was a story of the sky. Turn your mind's eye toward a glittering point of light in the distance. Do you remember the story of the Star of Bethlehem? The star that guided the 3 wise men across the desert. For centuries, astronomers have tried to decode this mysterious lighthouse using the language of mathematics and physics, rather than religion. One of the most sleep-inducing theories comes from the great astronomer Johannes Kepler in the 17th century. He did not believe it was a comet, for comets were often seen as bad omens in ancient cultures. Instead, Kepler calculated that in the year 07 BC, a rare event occurred called a planetary conjunction. Imagine Jupiter, the largest planet, the king of gods, and Saturn, the planet of time and destiny, moving so close together that, from Earth, they appeared to merge into one. 2 gas giants spinning slowly in the cold universe, meeting in the constellation of Pisces. Their light resonated, creating a brilliant torch hanging suspended in the night sky. There is a strange comfort in this fact. It suggests that great events are sometimes just the result of slow, steady movements, obeying the natural laws of the universe. The planets do not rush. They spin, they drift along their orbits for millions of years, just to create a moment of brilliance at exactly the right time. Just like you, everything in your life is unfolding according to its own orbit. Not too early, not too late. Trust in that rhythm. Now, let us drift a little further. To the year 1965. You are floating outside the window of the Gemini 6 spacecraft. 2 astronauts, Tom Stafford and Wally Schirra, are inside a small metal capsule in the middle of the void. It is December, and they decided to send a shocking message back to Earth. They reported to Mission Control that they saw a strange object traveling in a polar orbit from north to south. They described it. This object has a command module and 8 smaller modules in front. The pilot is wearing a red suit. The entire space station held its breath. And then, in that tension, a sound rang out. Not the roar of an engine, not an explosion, but the sound of a harmonica. Wally Schirra had smuggled a tiny harmonica, just over an inch long, and a handful of small bells aboard. He began to play the melody of Jingle Bells. It was the first song ever played in space. Close your eyes and try to visualize that sound. The thin, simple notes of the harmonica vibrating within the cramped spacecraft, surrounded by the infinite silence of the galaxy. It was not loud like a symphony orchestra. It was solitary, but warm. It was an echo of humanity sent out into the void. A reminder that no matter how far we go, no matter how far we leave Earth behind, we still carry simple joys in our pockets. If you are tucked under a warm blanket, try wiggling your toes gently. Just a little. Feel the existence of your own body. You are here, safe, just as those astronauts were protected in their ship. And speaking of traveling through space, we cannot ignore a question of physics that keeps many children and adults awake. How can Santa Claus deliver gifts to every child in just one night? The answer lies in Einstein's theory of relativity, and it is more soothing than you might think. To visit hundreds of millions of homes, the sleigh must travel at incredibly high speeds, approaching the speed of light. And according to astrophysics, when you move that fast, time for you slows down compared to someone standing still. This phenomenon is called time dilation. What does this mean? It means that while we, the people sleeping soundly on Earth, feel that Christmas Eve lasts only a few hours, for Santa on that high-speed sleigh, time is being stretched. For him, Christmas Eve might last for weeks or even months. He is not rushing. He is not racing against the clock. He is living in a separate pocket of time where everything happens slowly, deliberately. He has enough time to savor every cookie, to look at every sleeping face, and to gently place the gifts down without making a sound. Think about that concept, time dilation. Apply it to yourself right now. Tonight is infinitely long. No alarm clock is about to ring. No work is waiting. Time is slowing down. Slowing down, like honey dripping from a spoon. Every second that passes is stretched out, soft and pliable. You have all the time in the world to rest. The space around you is no longer a bedroom. It is a soft capsule drifting among the stars. Your breath is in rhythm with the expansion of the universe. Inhale, the light of distant stars enters your chest. Exhale, all worries dissolve into cosmic dust. But our journey does not end in outer space. From this height, we look down at the earth, a blue and white marble spinning slowly. And on that surface, humans have created strange traditions, rituals, whose origins they have sometimes forgotten. Do you know why people hang shiny tinsel on Christmas trees? Or why, in some places, they hide a pickled cucumber deep within the green branches? Those stories are waiting for us in the next part as we prepare to land in distant lands. If you are still awake or drifting on the edge of sleep, remember that you are held by the firmest laws of physics. Gravity is holding you to your bed. The atmosphere is protecting you. And these stories are guarding your dreams. Do not try to memorize anything. Let the knowledge of Jupiter, of black holes, of the speed of light float past like clouds. Now we will slowly descend. Our invisible sleigh is gliding through the fluffy clouds to return to the ground, where the houses are glowing with warm light. We are going to visit the world's strangest traditions, the sensation of falling freely, so slowly, so softly, like a leaf detaching from a branch. We touch down gently. The sensation is softer than a feather landing on moss. We have left the vacuum of space, descended through the layers of clouds, and now we find ourselves standing in the heart of an old Eastern European forest. The air here smells different. It is crisp, smelling of pine needles and damp earth. We are in Ukraine, and it is here that we find the origin of the shimmering strands you might drape over your tree, the tinsel. But the story of tinsel does not begin with factories or plastic. It begins with a spider. In the folklore of Ukraine, there is a legend known as the legend of the Christmas spider. It tells of a poor widow who lived in a small, drafty hut with her children. They had nurtured a pine cone that fell into their earthen floor until it grew into a small, brave tree. But when Christmas Eve arrived, they had nothing to decorate it with. No glass orbs, no wooden soldiers. They went to sleep with hearts that were heavy, but calm, accepting the bareness of their branches. While the house slept, the tiny architects of the corners came out, the spiders. Now, usually, we might brush a web away. But tonight, let us look at the spider web through the lens of sleepy science. A spider's silk is a marvel of biological engineering. It is lighter than cotton, yet gram for gram, it is stronger than steel. It is a liquid protein that hardens the moment it touches the air, drawn out by the spiders, spinnerets, into threads so fine they are almost invisible to the human eye. In the legend, these spiders crawled over the widow's tree. They were not destroying it, they were caressing it. They spun long looping webs from branch to branch, wrapping the needles in a delicate grey lace. They worked in silence, weaving patterns of complex geometry, spirals, radials, and bridges, covering the tree in a shroud of silk. When the sun rose on Christmas morning, the first pale light hit the tree. And here is where the physics of light transforms the story. As the sunlight struck the silk, it didn't just pass through. It refracted. The grey webs turned into strands of gold and silver. The tree wasn't covered in bugs. It was covered in precious metal. It shimmered with a beauty that no money could buy. This is why, to this day, people in Ukraine and parts of Germany hang spider-shaped ornaments on their trees for good luck. And it is why the rest of the world drapes tinsel, those long, shiny strips, over the branches. We are mimicking that ancient miracle of the morning light hitting a spider's web. So, when you see tinsel, do not think of it as decoration. Think of it as a reminder of the quiet work that happens while you sleep. The world is weaving beauty for you, even when you cannot see it. Let that image of the glistening web lull you deeper. Imagine a soft, silver net catching all your wandering thoughts, holding them gently so your mind can be free. If you are feeling that sense of freedom, that lightness, I invite you to settle deeper into your pillows. If you haven't yet, you might gently subscribe to this channel, joining our quiet community of dreamers. Perhaps you can whisper in the comments about your favorite ornament, the one you save for the very front of the tree. But do so slowly. There is no rush. Now, let us move from the glimmering webs of Ukraine to the deep, green forests of Germany. We are looking for something hidden. Have you ever heard of the Christmas pickle? It sounds like a joke, doesn't it? A pickle on a Christmas tree. But the tradition, which has obscure roots between Germany and the American Midwest, is an exercise in focus and mindfulness. The custom says that an ornament shaped like a pickle is the very last one to be hung on the tree, hidden deep within the green boughs. Because the ornament is green and the tree is green, it acts as a perfect camouflage. To find it, you cannot scan quickly. You must stop. You must stare. You must let your eyes soften and lose their sharp focus until the shapes merge. This act of looking for the pickle is actually a form of visual meditation. When we stare at complex patterns like pine needles for a long time, our brain enters a state of soft fascination. It rests the directed attention that we use for work and screens, and engages a more passive, drifting type of attention. Imagine you are staring at a tree right now. The smell of the evergreen is strong. The lights are blurry. You are looking for that one shade of green that is slightly different from the others. You are not searching with stress. You are searching with curiosity, and in that search, the rest of the room fades away. There is only the green, the deep, restful green. Leaving the snowy forests of Europe, we are going to change the temperature. We are going to let the warm air hit our faces. We are flying across the Atlantic, heading south, past the equator, to the city of Caracas in Venezuela. Here, Christmas does not mean snow. It means a warm breeze carrying the scent of arepas and coffee, and it brings one of the most unique, rhythmic traditions in the world. In the days leading up to Christmas, the streets of Caracas are closed to cars. Not for a parade, but for skaters. Thousands of people lace up their roller skates to glide to early morning church services. Close your eyes and listen to the sound. Whir, 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 the sound of polyurethane wheels rolling over asphalt. It is a steady, hypnotic drone, a white noise of the city. There is a gentle friction, a smooth forward motion. Skating requires a pendulum rhythm, left, right, swaying the body like a hammock in the wind. And there is a detail here that is delightfully sleepy. It is said that children, before they go to sleep, tie a long piece of string to their big toe. They let the other end of the string hang out of their bedroom window, dangling down to the street below. As the skaters glide past in the early morning, if they see a string, they give it a gentle tug. Not a hard pull to wake the child up fully, but a soft tug, a signal, a connection between the waking world and the dreaming world. Imagine feeling that tiny pull on your toe, a reassurance that the community is outside, moving, living, celebrating, while you lie safe and warm in your bed. You are connected to the flow of life by a simple string, but you do not have to join it yet. You can just lie there and feel the connection. We glide on those skates, smooth and fast, away from Venezuela. Crossing the vast Pacific Ocean, the sound of the wheels fades into the sound of the waves. Whoosh, hush. We arrive in Japan. Christmas in Japan is not a national holiday in the traditional religious sense. It is a time for couples, for lights, and strangely, for Colonel Sanders. In 1974, a marketing campaign called Kentucky for Christmas, Kurasumasu Niwa Kentucky, began. Because turkey is not native to Japan and very hard to find, KFC offered fried chicken as a substitute. It became a phenomenon. Today, families order their party barrels months in advance. But why is this fact sleepy? Because it speaks to the psychology of comfort food. Fried chicken, biologically speaking, is high in carbohydrates and fats. When we consume these warmth-giving foods, our body releases dopamine and serotonin, the hormones of happiness and relaxation. It triggers a rest and digest response. The blood moves from our muscles to our stomach to aid digestion, making our limbs feel heavy and our eyelids droop. Imagine the smell of savory spices, black pepper, sage, garlic, the warmth of the food radiating in your hands on a cold Tokyo night. The queue of people standing patiently, their breath fogging in the air, waiting for a bucket of warmth. There is a communal patience here, everyone waiting for the same simple comfort. The Colonel, with his white goatee and glasses, looks remarkably like a slim Santa Claus. He stands there, smiling, offering not toys, but sustenance. And as you think about that warmth, the warmth of the food, the warmth of the Venezuelan air, the warmth of the spider's woolly coat, you begin to realize that Christmas is, at its core, a sensory experience. It is not just what we see, it is what we smell. The nose is the only sense that bypasses the logic center of the brain and goes straight to the limbic system, the seat of memory and emotion. That is why the smell of pine or cinnamon can instantly transport you back to your childhood. We are about to enter a world of chemistry, the invisible molecules that float in the air and unlock the doors of sleep. The scent of the tree, the scent of the spices. Are you ready to breathe in deeply, to let the chemistry of nature sedate your senses? Let us drift towards the kitchen and the forest floor, where the smells are rising. Breathe. Take a moment right now, wherever you are, to simply inhale and exhale. We have traveled through history, across snowy landscapes, and into the vacuum of space. But now we are going to travel inward. We are going to explore a world that is invisible to the eye, yet it paints the air around us with vivid colors of emotion. We are entering the microscopic world of scent and the chemistry that makes Christmas feel like home. Have you ever wondered why? The moment you walk into a room with a fresh, evergreen tree, your shoulders instinctively drop an inch. Or why the smell of baking cookies seems to wrap around you like a weighted blanket. It is not just nostalgia. It is biology. It is molecular engineering. The sense of smell is the oldest sense we possess. Before we had language, before we had complex tools, we had the ability to smell. The olfactory bulb, which processes scent, is located in the most ancient part of our brain, the limbic system, the seat of memory and emotion. It is the only sense that bypasses the logical, analytical thalamus. That is why a smell can trigger a memory before you even realize what you are smelling. It hits you viscerally. It is a chemical key unlocking a dusty door in your mind. Let us start with the king of the winter forest, the pine tree. If you have a real Christmas tree, or a wreath of fir or spruce, lean in close to it in your imagination. Break a single needle between your fingers. A burst of sharp, clean, woodsy aroma fills the air. What you are smelling is a group of organic compounds called terpenes, specifically to molecules, alpha-pinene and beta-pinene. These molecules did not evolve for our enjoyment. The tree produces them as a defense mechanism. They are a chemical shield against hungry insects and a barrier against bacteria. But for humans, these molecules are a medicine. When you inhale alpha-pinene, it acts as a It gently opens up the airways in your lungs, allowing you to breathe deeper and more easily. It is nature's way of saying, let more air in. Furthermore, scientists in Japan have studied a practice called Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing. They found that simply walking in a forest rich in these terpenes significantly lowers cortisol, the stress hormone, and lowers the heart rate. So, when you bring a Christmas tree into your living room, you are not just bringing in a decoration. You are bringing in a biological stress reduction machine. You are sleeping in a forest, protected by the invisible mist of the trees. Now, let us leave the living room and drift into the kitchen. The air here is warmer, thicker. It smells of spice. Let's focus on cinnamon. Picture a cinnamon stick. It looks like a small scroll of parchment rolled up tight. But biologically, it is the bark of the cinnamon tree. To harvest it, farmers gently strip the outer bark to reveal the inner layer, which curls up naturally as it dries in the sun. It is a process of peeling back layers, much like we are peeling back the layers of the day to get to sleep. The scent of cinnamon comes from an oily compound called cinnamon. This is where the science gets incredibly cozy. Why does cinnamon feel warm even when it is room temperature? It is because cinnamaldehyd activates a specific receptor in your body called TRPA1. This is a thermoreceptor, a sensor usually tasked with detecting heat. When you eat a cinnamon bun or drink spiced cider, this molecule tricks your brain. It whispers to your thermal sensors, there is warmth here. It lights a tiny chemical fire inside your body, creating a sensation of heat without any actual flame. It is an internal fireplace. It warms you from the inside out, promoting blood flow and a feeling of deep physical comfort. Mixing with the cinnamon is the scent of cloves. These tiny nail-shaped spices are actually the dried flower buds of a tree native to Indonesia. The primary chemical in cloves is eugenol. Is fascinating because it is a natural anesthetic. In the past, dentists used clove oil to numb toothaches. When you smell cloves simmering in a pot of mulled wine or studded into an orange, you are inhaling a mild, natural sedative. It numbs the sharp edges of your anxiety. It dulls the noise of the outside world. Speaking of oranges studded with cloves, do you know the tradition of the pomander? It is a simple, repetitive craft. You take a fresh orange and you push dried cloves into its skin, one by one. Covering the surface, push, pop, push, pop. The action releases tiny bursts of citrus oil from the orange peel, which mixes with the spicy eugenol of the clove. The result is a complex, heavy scent that can last for years. In the Middle Ages, people carried these pomanders to ward off bad smells and infection. Today, they are just balls of pure olfactory comfort. Imagine the patience required to make one, the slow, rhythmic motion of your hands, the scent rising to meet you. Now, let us drift away from the kitchen, back towards the doorway. There, hanging above the frame, is a sprig of green leaves and white berries. The mistletoe. We kiss under it. It is a symbol of romance. But the biology of the mistletoe is a story of survival and clinginess that is strangely beautiful. Mistletoe, or Viscum album, is a It does not grow in the soil. It grows on the branches of other trees, oaks, apples, poplars. It inserts its roots, called hostoria, into the bark of the host tree to drink its water and nutrients. It sounds aggressive, but in the dead of winter, when the host tree has lost all its leaves and looks like a skeleton, the mistletoe remains vibrant and green. It is a ball of life suspended in the grey branches. The ancient Druids revered it for this reason. They believed it held the soul of the tree during the winter sleep. It was the keeper of life when the world seemed dead. And the berries, those white, pearl-like berries, contain a substance called vicin. Vicin is one of the stickiest natural substances known to man. It is a glue. The mistletoe needs this glue so its seeds can stick to the beaks of birds and be carried to new branches. So, when we stand under the mistletoe and kiss, we are actually standing under a symbol of sticking together. We are mimicking the biology of the plant. We are connecting. We are holding on to each other against the cold of winter, just as the mistletoe holds on to the oak. The chemistry of Christmas is a chemistry of connection. The terpenes connect us to the forest. The cinnamaldehyd connects us to warmth. The vicin connects us to the tree. And the oxytocin, the hormone of love and bonding that is released when we share these moments, connects us to each other. If you are listening to this, and you are alone in your bed, know that you are still connected. You are breathing the same air, sharing the same biology, and resting under the same winter sky as millions of others. The scents are fading now. The kitchen is clean. The fire has burned down to glowing embers. The house is settling. You might hear the house making noises. The wood contracting as it cools. Creak, crack. These are not scary sounds. They are the sounds of the house getting comfortable. The house is tucking itself in. Everything is slowing down. The molecules in the air are moving slower. The heat is dispersing. We have explored the invisible world of scent. But there is another element of Christmas that is highly visible, yet full of history and light. The centerpiece of the living room. The tree itself, not just its smell, but its shape, its light, and the strange journey it took from the deep forests of Germany to the parlor of a queen, and then to your home. Did you know that the first Christmas trees were sometimes hung upside down from the ceiling? Or that the lights we use today were invented by a friend of Thomas Edison because he was tired of houses burning down from candles? The history of the tree is a history of bringing the outside in, of capturing a piece of the wild and taming it with light. We are going to look at those lights in the next part. We are going to watch them flicker. We are going to understand the physics of the glow. But for now, just breathe. Smell the imaginary pine. Smell the phantom cinnamon. Let the warmth spread through your chest. You are heavy. You are warm. You are safe. Let us open our eyes in our imagination, or perhaps keep them closed, and look into the corner of the room. There it stands, the tree. It is the anchor of the season, a piece of the wild, untamed forest that we have dragged indoors, stood upright, and dressed in jewels. It is a strange thing, if you think about it objectively, to bring a living, breathing entity into our living room and treat it like a guest of honor. But this guest has a history that is as twisted and branching as its own limbs. We usually picture the Christmas tree as a perfect triangle, a pyramid of green pointing towards the heavens, stable, grounded, but in the hazy, dreamlike logic of the past, the world was not always right side up. Travel back with me to the Middle Ages in Central Europe, to the wooden cottages of Poland and the Slavic lands. Here, the ancestors of our modern tree didn't stand on the floor. They hung from the ceiling. They were called podwogni. Imagine lying in a bed of straw and sheepskin, looking up at the wooden rafters of a dimly lit cottage. Suspended above you, hanging by a rope, is the tip of a spruce tree, but it is pointing down. The broad base is near the ceiling, and the point of the tree aims towards the floor, like a green stalactite growing from the roof of a cave. It defies gravity. It looks like a reflection in a calm lake. People decorated these inverted trees with nuts, straw stars, and apples. In the flickering light of the hearth, the tree would slowly spin in the draughts of air, a mobile of nature. Why did they do this? Some say it was to simulate the shape of the cross. Others say it was simply to save floor space in tiny huts. But for us, tonight, it is a surreal image to hold on to. A forest growing from the sky. A world turned upside down, where the heavy things float and the light things ground us. Let that image of the floating tree rotate in your mind. Round and round, slowly, gently. Now, let us flip the world back over and travel to a foggy afternoon in London. In the year 1848, we are at Windsor Castle. The walls are thick stone. The fireplaces are roaring, trying to battle the damp English chill. Queen Victoria is on the throne, but it is her husband, Prince Albert, who is about to change the way the world sleeps on Christmas Eve. Albert was German, and he missed the scent of the fir trees from his childhood in Coburg. He missed the Tannenbaum. So, he had a large Nordmann fir brought into the castle. But he did something that the English aristocracy found peculiar. He lit it on fire. Well, carefully. He attached small wax candles to the ends of the branches using melted wax or small pins. Picture the scene. The room is dark. The heavy velvet curtains are drawn. And suddenly, a tree made of shadows blooms with dozens of tiny, living flames. It was dangerous, yes. A bucket of water was always kept nearby, and a servant was often tasked with watching the tree with the intensity of a hawk. They called him the Monitor. But the beauty was undeniable. A woodcut engraving of the royal family standing around this illuminated tree was published in the Illustrated London News. In that moment, the Christmas tree went viral. Suddenly, every fashionable house in England and America needed a tree with candles. They wanted to capture that dangerous, flickering magic. But fire is unpredictable. It flickers, it smokes, it consumes. We needed a light that was steady, a light that could burn without burning. Enter the age of electricity, and a man named Edward Johnson. We all know Thomas Edison, the wizard of Menlo Park who gave us the light bulb. But it was his partner and friend, Edward Johnson, who had the vision for Christmas. The year is 1882. We are in New York City, in a parlor in Murray Hill. The streets outside are paved with cobblestones and horse manure. But inside Johnson's house, the future has arrived. Johnson hand-wired 80 walnut-sized incandescent bulbs. He painted the glass himself, red, white, and blue. He strung them together with copper wire wrapped in cloth insulation. But he didn't just drape them on the tree. He wanted to show off. He placed his tree on a rotating pine box connected to a dynamo generator. Imagine standing in that Victorian parlor. The room is dim, and there, in the corner, is a tree that is spinning. Whir, as it spins, the lights flash. Red, white, blue, red, white, blue. It was a sensation. A reporter from a Detroit newspaper wrote, "It was a continuous twinkling of dancing colors, rarely seen, never to be forgotten." At the time, lighting a tree with electricity was a luxury that cost the equivalent of thousands of dollars today. You needed a generator. You needed a wireman to install it. It was a display of immense wealth. But today, the physics of that luxury has been miniaturized and democratized. Let's think about the string of lights you might have in your home. The miniature incandescent bulb. It is a marvel of simplicity. Inside each tiny glass bulb is a filament made of tungsten, a metal with an incredibly high melting point. When electricity flows through it, the atoms of the tungsten vibrate furiously. They dance. They get hot, so hot that they glow white hot. But here is the sleepy secret. The colored lights are not actually colored light. They are white light, trapped inside a colored glass or plastic shell. The red bulb is just a white sun wearing a red coat. The blue bulb is a white sun wearing a blue coat. And then there is the shunt. Have you ever wondered why, on modern strings, if one bulb burns out, the rest stay lit? Unlike the old days of frustration, it is because of a tiny piece of wire inside the bulb called a shunt. It is wrapped around the two posts holding the filament. Usually, it is insulated, but when the filament breaks and the arc of electricity flares, it melts the insulation on the shunt. The shunt then creates a bridge, allowing the electricity to bypass the broken bridge and keep flowing to the next bulb. It is a system designed to fail gracefully, to keep the light flowing even when one part gives up. There is a lesson in that. Even when one small part of us is tired or broken or burnt out, the energy can still flow. The light can still shine. We have backup systems. We are resilient. Now, stare at the lights in your mind. Blur your eyes. Let the sharp points of light expand into soft, fuzzy orbs. This is called the bokeh effect in photography, the out-of-focus blur. When we look at Christmas lights this way, they stop being objects and become pure atmosphere. They look like distant city lights seen through a rainy window. They look like bioluminescent creatures in the deep ocean. Why do we find these lights so hypnotic? Evolutionary psychologists suggest it harkens back to the safety of the campfire. For hundreds of thousands of years, a circle of light in the darkness meant safety from predators. It meant warmth. It meant community. When we sit in a dark room illuminated only by the Christmas tree, We are recreating that primal cave. The shadows are pushed back to the corners. The center is bright. You can stare at the tree for hours without thinking a single thought. It is a form of Tratika, the yoga of gazing. Your eyes fix on a point of light, and your mind empties. Let's practice that now. Visualize a single green bulb on the tree. Watch it glow. It is steady. It is constant. It is not asking anything of you. It is just converting energy into light, silently, efficiently. Now, imagine the tree is slowly fading. The lights are dimming. One by one, click. The red one goes out. Click. The blue one goes out. Click. The white one goes out. The room is getting darker, but it is a soft darkness. A velvet darkness. The tree remains standing in the shadows. A silent guardian. The spirit of the forest watching over your sleep. We have satisfied our eyes with light. We have satisfied our nose with scent. But there is one more hunger that the season brings. A hunger that settles deep in the belly and makes us heavy and slow. The feast. The food of Christmas is not just about nutrition. It is about sedation. It is about ingredients that have traveled along the Silk Road, spices that were once worth more than gold, and the biological reason why a large meal makes you want to curl up and hibernate. We are going to the dining table now. The feast is set. The steam is rising. Are you ready to taste the stories? We move now from the parlor, where the tree stands in its silent vigil of light, into the heart of the home. The dining room. The air here is different. It is heavy. It is humid. It carries a weight that settles in the back of your throat and makes your eyelids feel like they are made of lead. We are entering the domain of the feast. But tonight, we are not here to eat. We are here to understand the biology of why we eat and the physics of the heavy slumber that follows. Have you ever looked at a gingerbread house? I mean, really looked at it? It is a strange concept, isn't it? To build a dwelling out of dessert, to construct walls that are meant to be broken, and a roof that is meant to be tasted. But the gingerbread house is more than just a sugary decoration. It is a feat of engineering and a relic of a time when spices were worth more than life itself. Let's trace the scent of that ginger back. Back before the brothers Grimm wrote the story of Hansel and Gretel, which popularized these edible cottages in the 19th century. We are going back to the Silk Road. In the 14th century, a single pound of ginger was worth the same price as a whole sheep. Think about that value. A small knobby root dug from the earth in Southeast Asia, dried, and carried on the backs of camels across deserts and mountains, all to reach a European market. It was precious. It was medicine. The root Zingiber officinale contains a compound called ginger. It is chemically related to capsaicin in chili peppers and piperine in black pepper. But gingerol is softer. It doesn't burn, it glows. When you smell baking gingerbread, you are smelling a chemical reaction called the Maillard reaction. This is the interaction between amino acids and reducing sugars that gives brown food its distinctive flavor. But in gingerbread, there is a secret structural ingredient: molasses. Molasses is the dark, viscous byproduct of refining sugar. It is thick. Slow as molasses in January, the saying goes. It acts as the mortar for the house. It absorbs moisture from the air, which is why gingerbread can stay soft yet sturdy for weeks. It is a preservative, a time capsule of flavor. Imagine the density of that cake. Dark, spiced, heavy. It is the architectural concrete of the holiday season. And as we sit at this imaginary table, the centerpiece arrives: the turkey. There is a pervasive myth about the turkey that we need to address, a myth that has given birth to the term food coma. People say the turkey makes you sleepy because it contains tryptophan. While it is true that turkey contains tryptophan, an amino acid that is a precursor to serotonin, the relaxation hormone, and melatonin, the sleep hormone, the science is actually more complex and more conducive to sleep than you might think. Here is the sleepy truth. Turkey has about the same amount of tryptophan as cheddar cheese or chicken. The turkey alone is not the culprit. The culprit is the carbohydrate. The mashed potatoes, the stuffing, the cranberry sauce, the dinner rolls. When you eat this high carbohydrate feast, your body releases insulin to deal with the sugar. Insulin is like a strict doorman at a club. It clears most of the amino acids out of your blood and pushes them into your muscles. But it leaves tryptophan behind. With the other amino acids gone, tryptophan has no competition. It has a VIP pass to cross the blood-brain barrier. It glides into your brain unhindered and immediately begins the work of manufacturing melatonin. So, the food coma, scientifically known as postprandial somnolence, is a team effort. The turkey provides the raw material, and the potatoes open the door. But there is another player in this game of sleep, the vagus nerve. This is the longest cranial nerve in your body, running from your brainstem all the way down to your abdomen. It is the superhighway of the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. When you eat a large holiday meal, your stomach expands physically. This stretching activates the mechanoreceptors in the stomach lining, which send a signal up the vagus nerve to the brain. The message is simple. We are full. Slow down. Shut down the engines. Your body redirects blood flow. It pulls blood away from your extremities. Your hands and feet might feel a little cooler, and pulls blood away from your brain's frontal cortex, concentrating it in the digestive tract. The energy required to think, to worry, to plan, is reallocated to the process of digestion. You are biologically incapable of stress in this moment. You are a digestion machine, a warm, processing vessel. Let that feeling wash over you. The heaviness in your gut is not a burden. It is an anchor. It holds you to the couch. It holds you to the bed. Gravity feels twice as strong. Digesting, resting, healing, and as the meal ends, and the plates are cleared away, perhaps a small, curved candy is handed out. The candy cane. It seems like a simple treat. A hard peppermint stick. But its origins are rooted in the desperate need for silence. The legend takes us to Cologne Cathedral in Germany, around the year 1670. The choir master was frantic. He had a problem. During the living creche ceremony on Christmas Eve, the children in the choir were restless. They fidgeted. They whispered. They ruined the solemnity of the moment. He needed a way to keep their mouths busy and their bodies still. He asked a local candy maker to create some white sugar sticks. But to justify giving candy to children in a holy place, he asked the candy maker to bend the top into the shape of a shepherd's crook, a staff. This way, the candy became a symbol of the humble shepherds who visited the infant Jesus. The original candy canes were pure white. No stripes, no peppermint flavor, just a stick of hard sugar to enforce silence. Think about the physics of eating a candy cane. You cannot chew it unless you want to break a tooth. You must suck on it. This requires patience. It is a slow erosion. You are wearing down a stone of sugar with only patience and time. The red stripes, they didn't appear until the early 20th century, and the peppermint flavor, menthol, was added later to. Menthol is interesting for sleep. It is a cooling agent. Just as cinnamon triggers heat receptors, menthol triggers cold receptors, TRPM 8. It creates a sensation of cool airflow, clearing the sinuses, making the breath feel icy and clean. So you have the warmth of the ginger in your belly and the cool of the peppermint in your breath. A perfect thermal balance. Fire and ice. Now, look at the table one last time. There is a Christmas pudding sitting there. A dark, dense sphere. The traditional Christmas pudding is a marvel of preservation. Historically, it was made on Stub Sunday, 5 weeks before Christmas. It is a mixture of dried fruits, suet fat, spices, and alcohol, usually brandy or stout. Why does it last so long? Because it is an environment with very low water activity. The sugar and the alcohol bind up the water molecules, making them unavailable for bacteria to grow. The pudding is essentially mummified in flavor. It waits. It sits in the dark of the pantry for weeks, maturing. The flavors meld together. The sharp edges of the alcohol soften. It is a lesson in the value of waiting. Good things do not happen instantly. They need to sit in the dark for a while. They need to rest to become whole, just like you. You are resting now to become whole again tomorrow. The feast is over. The candles on the table have burned down to little pools of wax. The conversation has died down to a murmur. The house is locking up for the night. Do you hear the wind outside? It is trying to get in, but it cannot. You are sealed in. We are going to move from the dining room to the bedroom. But before we sleep, we have to engage in one final psychological ritual. The ritual of the gift. Why do we wrap things? Why do we hide them in paper? The psychology of surprise is a powerful drug for the brain, and the act of giving is a sedative for the soul. We will explore the paper, the ribbons, and the chemicals of generosity in the next part. For now, feel your stomach rising and falling, slowly, heavily. You are a bear entering hibernation. You are a seed waiting under the snow. We leave the dining room now. The heavy oak table is cleared. The crumbs of the gingerbread house have been swept away, and the scent of clove is settling into the curtains. We move back to the soft rug in the living room, where the lights of the tree are casting long, dancing shadows on the floor. Lying there, beneath the boughs of the fir, are the boxes, rectangles of red, gold, and green. Have you ever stopped to wonder why we wrap gifts? From a purely logical standpoint, it is inefficient. We buy an object, we cover it in paper, only for that paper to be torn off and discarded a few days later. But the human brain does not run on efficiency. It runs on dopamine. And the science of wrapping paper is the science of anticipation. Neuroscientists call this the reward prediction error. When you hand someone a gift that is unwrapped, just a naked book or a sweater, their brain processes the object immediately. Oh, a sweater, nice. The dopamine spike is small and vanishes quickly. But when you hand them a wrapped box, the brain enters a state of high alert. It begins to simulate possibilities. Is it a book? Is it a clock? Is it chocolate? In those few seconds of not knowing, the dopamine levels in the brain skyrocket. We are biologically wired to enjoy the chase more than the catch, the mystery more than the solution. So, when you wrap a gift, you are not just covering an object. You are physically extending the duration of someone's happiness. You are wrapping them in a layer of delightful uncertainty. Listen to the sound of the paper. Crinkle, rustle. This is a texture that triggers a response known as ASMR, autonomous sensory meridian response. In many people, the dry, crisp sound of paper folding over a cardboard edge, the friction of the tape being smoothed down by a thumb, swish, smooth. It is a tactile ritual. Think about the focus required to wrap a gift perfectly. You have to measure the paper. You have to cut in a straight line. You have to fold the corners into sharp, geometric triangles. It is a moment of precision in a chaotic world. It requires you to slow your hands down. And then there is the card. Nestled among the boxes are envelopes. The Christmas card is such a staple that we assume it has always existed. But it is a relatively new invention, born out of a very relatable feeling, being too busy and too tired. The year was 1843. We are back in Victorian London. A man named Sir Henry Cole was in a panic. Sir Henry was a busy man. He was a civil servant and an educator. Custom dictated that he should write long, personalized letters to all his friends and family during the holiday season. But the stack of letters on his desk was too high. He was exhausted. He simply didn't have the energy to dip his quill into the inkwell hundreds of times. So, he hacked the system. He asked an artist friend, John Calcott Horsley, to design a generic image, a family raising a toast with a blank space at the bottom to write a name. He printed 1,000 of them. He had invented the Christmas card not out of artistic passion, but out of a desire to save time and rest. But there is a piece of technology that made this possible. A sleepy little sticker. The penny black. 3 years earlier, the penny post system had been introduced. Before this, sending a letter was expensive and complicated, often calculated by distance and paid for by the recipient. The penny post changed everything. For 1 penny, you could send a letter anywhere in the United Kingdom. Imagine the revolution of connection. A small square of paper, licked and stuck to the corner of an envelope, could carry your thoughts across the country. Think about the physical act of writing a card today. In a world of instant texts and emails, writing by hand is a slowing mechanism. You have to find a pen. You have to sit at a table. You have to think about the shape of the letters. The ink flows onto the paper. It takes a moment to dry. You cannot rush it, or it will smudge, scratch, scratch. There is a permanence to it. A text message disappears into the digital ether. A card sits on a mantelpiece. It gathers dust. It occupies physical space. It says, "I took the time to make a mark on paper for you." And why do we do it? Why do we give? We are now entering the chemistry of generosity. There is a phenomenon psychologists call the helper's high. When you give a gift or write a kind card, your brain releases a cocktail of chemicals that are natural sedatives. The primary one is oxytocin, often called the love hormone or the cuddle chemical. When you watch someone open a gift you chose for them, your oxytocin levels rise. This hormone counters the effects of cortisol stress. It lowers your blood pressure. It tells your amygdala, the fear center of the brain, to stand down. It also releases endorphins, which are natural painkillers. So, giving is not a selfless act. Biologically, it is a selfishly healthy act. It heals you. It warms you. Have you ever felt that physical sensation of warmth in your chest when you do something nice? That is not a metaphor. That is the vagus nerve interacting with your emotional state, actually creating a sensation of glowing warmth in the thoracic cavity. You are a biological radiator of kindness. And as we sit here, surrounded by the paper and the cards, we realize that the greatest gift of the season isn't the object inside the box. It is the atmosphere we have created. The Danes have a word for this, hygge. You have probably heard this word. It is often translated as coziness, but that is too simple. Hygge is a scientific approach to surviving the winter. It is the art of creating intimacy. Hygge is not about buying things. It is about the absence of anything annoying or emotionally overwhelming. It is the feeling of being shielded. Imagine a storm raging outside. The wind is battering the walls. The rain is lashing the glass. But inside, you are in a fortress of blankets. The worse the weather is outside, the more hygge it is inside. It is the contrast that creates the comfort. To achieve hygge, you need to engage the sense of touch. Think of the textures of Christmas, the scratchy wool of a sweater, the soft fleece of a pajama pant, the smooth, cool ceramic of a mug, the thick, fluffy yarn of a knitted blanket. These textures are tactile, grounding. When your skin feels these soft things, it sends a constant, low-level signal of safety to your brain. Soft, warm, soft, warm. Your skin is the boundary between you and the world. When you wrap that boundary in softness, you are telling your nervous system that the defense mechanisms can be turned off. Let's practice a hygge visualization. Imagine you are wearing a pair of thick, hand-knitted socks. You can feel the weave of the wool against your soles. You wiggle your toes. They are warm. You are sinking into a chair that seems to hug you back. There is a candle burning, beeswax, like the Romans used. It smells of honey. The light is low. Low light signals the pineal gland to produce melatonin. Everything in this scene, the socks, the chair, the candle, is conspiring to put you to sleep. The excitement of the gifts is over. The paper has been torn. The secrets have been revealed. The dopamine rush has faded, replaced by the slow, steady hum of oxytocin. You are no longer expecting anything. You are just being. And in this state of being, we notice that the night has grown very deep. The world outside has gone completely silent. The cars have stopped. The skaters in Venezuela have gone home. The spiders in Ukraine have finished their webs. We are approaching the end of our journey. We are approaching the deepest part of the winter night, the solstice, the turning point where the sun stands still. But before we drift into that final darkness, there is one last question. Why does the cold make us sleep? What is happening to the earth itself right now, under the snow? The earth is sleeping too, and we are just mimicking it. Let us pull the duvet up to our chin. Let us turn off the last lamp. We are going to listen to the heartbeat of the winter earth. The fire in the hearth has burned down to a soft, pulsing glow of orange embers. The wrapping paper has been cleared away. The house is quiet, settling into its foundations with those familiar, comforting creaks. We have explored the warmth inside, the food, the scents, the lights. But now, to truly understand the depth of this season, we must look outside one last time. We must embrace the cold. We are going to step out into the longest night of the year. Astronomically, the season turns on a single, precise moment. The winter solstice. The word solstice comes from the Latin words sol sun and sistere, to stand still. For days leading up to this moment, the sun has been rising lower and lower in the sky. its arc shortening, the shadows lengthening. And then, for a few days around December 21st or 22nd, it seems to pause. It stops moving south. It hovers on the horizon, hesitant, before beginning its slow journey back. The sun stands still. Think about the power of that concept. Even the star that anchors our solar system, the burning engine of all life, takes a moment to pause. It takes a breath. If the sun can stop, so can you. This darkness we are in right now is not empty. It is biological instruction. For millions of years, before light bulbs and screens, the human body was synchronized with this rhythm. As the nights grew longer, our bodies produced more melatonin. This is not just a sleep chemical. It is a signal to slow down the metabolic engine. In the winter, historically, humans slept longer. We practiced segmented sleep, waking up for a quiet hour in the middle of the night to tend the fire or pray, and then drifting back into a second, deeper sleep. We are designed to hibernate. We just forgot how. But out there, in the frozen forest, the masters of sleep are showing us how it is done. Let us look at the black bear. We often think bears just sleep through the winter, but the science of their slumber, called torpor, is a medical marvel. A bear in torpor does not eat. It does not drink. It does not relieve itself. For up to 5 or even 7 months, its body becomes a perfectly closed loop. Its heart rate drops from a normal 40 or 50 beats per minute down to just 8 beats per minute. Thump, wait for it, thump. Imagine your heart beating that slowly. A rhythm so calm it is barely there. During this time, the bear's body recycles its own waste into protein to maintain muscle mass. It is the ultimate efficiency. The bear is not starving. It is running on a low-power mode so advanced that human doctors are studying it to help astronauts survive long voyages to Mars. The bear is safe in its den, curled into a ball to conserve heat, letting the snow pile up outside the entrance, sealing it in a blanket of white silence. But if you think the bear is impressive, let me introduce you to the true king of the winter sleep. A tiny creature, no bigger than your thumb, resting under the leaf litter just a few inches below the snow. The wood frog, lithobates. This little frog performs a magic trick that defies the laws of life as we usually understand them. When the temperature drops below freezing, the wood frog does not dig deep underground like a toad. It stays near the surface, and it freezes. I don't mean it just gets cold. I mean it turns into a solid block of ice. Ice crystals form in its abdominal cavity. Its eyes turn opaque and white. Its brain stops electrically. Its heart stops beating completely. If you picked it up, it would feel like a frozen pebble. By all medical definitions, the frog is dead, but it is not. It is in a state of cryptobiosis, hidden life. Before it freezes, the frog's liver pumps massive amounts of glucose, sugar, into its bloodstream. This sugar acts as a natural antifreeze, a cryoprotectant. It packs inside the cells, preventing the water inside them from freezing and bursting the cell walls. The ice forms around the cells, but not inside them. The frog becomes a sugary, frozen statue. It waits. It surrenders completely to the cold. It does not fight the winter. It becomes the winter. And then, when the spring sun warms the ground, the frog thaws. The heart kickstarts itself, thump thump, and within hours, the frog hops away as if nothing happened. Why am I telling you about a frozen frog while you are warm in bed? Because it is a reminder that stillness is not the end. Stopping is not failing. To rest deeply, to let your mind and body go completely dormant, is a survival strategy. It is the way nature recharges for the next season. You do not need to freeze solid, of course, but you can learn from the frogs surrender. You can stop fighting the thoughts in your head. You can let the winter of sleep take over. You can trust that you will wake up when the light returns. Listen to the world outside your window again. The trees are doing it too. The sap in the maple and the oak has stopped flowing. It has retreated down the trunk, deep into the roots, hiding underground where the earth is warmer. The branches above are dry and cold, swaying in the wind, but the life of the tree is safe, buried deep in the dark soil. Everything is moving downward. The sap moves down. The bear curls down. The frog burrows down. The sun goes down. And you are sinking down into the mattress, into the pillow, into the gravity. The cold air outside is pressing against the glass, but it cannot touch you. You are in your own warm. Then you have your own antifreeze, the warmth of the blankets, the comfort of the pillows. The entire northern hemisphere is tilting away from the sun, turning its back on the light, embracing the shadow. It is a planetary movement of rest, a cosmic rolling over in bed to find the cool side of the pillow. We are drifting towards the very end of our journey now. The facts are blurring. The numbers are fading. The history of Nicholas, the physics of the snowflakes, the chemistry of the pudding, they are all melting together into a soft, warm hum. There is nothing left to learn tonight. There is nothing left to analyze. The only thing left is the silence. The ultimate, perfect silence of a world asleep. We are going to enter that silence together in the final part. We will blow out the last candle. We will say goodnight to the stars. Are you ready to let go completely? We have reached the end of the list. We have counted the stars, measured the snow, and traced the path of the reindeer across the sky. The stories are all told. The facts have been placed back on the shelf, like old leather-bound books that are no longer needed. There is nothing left to know. There is only this moment. The house around you is completely still. If you listen very closely, you might hear the rhythm of your own breathing, slow and steady, matching the ticking of an unseen clock. Inhale, peace. Exhale, silence. Let us take one last gentle look at the world we have built tonight. Outside, the imaginary snow is still falling. It covers the tracks of the sleigh. It covers the roof of the house. It covers the sleeping forest. Millions upon millions of tiny hexagonal crystals stacking on top of each other, creating a blanket so thick that no noise can penetrate it. The world is swaddled in white cotton. High above, beyond the clouds, the planets continue their slow, majestic dance. Jupiter and Saturn drift in the black ocean of space, silent and giant. They do not hurry. They watch over you from millions of miles away, steady points of light in the velvet dark, and inside, the warmth remains. The memory of the cinnamon, the echo of the crackling fire, the soft glow of the tree lights. It is all stored within the walls of your room. You are the center of this warmth. Imagine, in the center of your mind, there is a single beeswax candle burning. It is the last light of the night. The flame is small. It is golden. It barely flickers because the air is so still. Watch the flame. It is burning lower and lower. The wax is melting, forming a small, warm pool. The light is becoming softer. It is changing from gold to a deep, sleepy orange. It is time to blow out the candle. Take a gentle breath in and softly blow it out. P-H-H-H. The flame vanishes. A tiny ribbon of smoke rises up, curling into the darkness, smelling faintly of honey and rest. The room is dark now, but it is not a scary darkness. It is a protective darkness. It is the darkness of the womb, the darkness of the seed under the soil, the darkness of the deep ocean where everything is weightless. You are floating in this darkness. You are safe. You are loved. You are exactly where you need to be. The winter solstice has arrived. The sun has stopped. The earth has paused. And now you pause with it. Let your feet relax completely. They are heavy, sinking into the bed. Let your hands uncurl. They are empty. There is nothing left to hold on to. Let your jaw drop slightly. Let your tongue rest on the floor of your mouth. Let your eyes roll back gently behind your lids, looking into the soothing blackness. Sleep is not a destination you have to reach. It is a tide that rises to meet you. Feel it washing over your ankles, over your knees, over your hips, over your chest, warm, heavy, slow. The sleigh has flown away. The reindeer are sleeping in the straw. The workshop is quiet. The world is turning, slowly, silently, carrying you into the night. Good night, traveler. Good night to the stars. Good night to the snow. Good night to you. Sleep, sleep, sleep.